Hello and welcome. I'm Maureen from Moose Training. In today's video, you'll be learning about open to the public special events. You'll understand what they are, the rules for holding them, and you'll also hear some great ideas for events that you can hold within your lodge. Finally, you'll watch a demonstration on how to use Moose Training's specially designed Excel workbook. The workbook is meant to help streamline and simplify the process of recording and reporting the financials from your open to the public special event. As you know, not just anyone is allowed in our lodges. You must be a member, a qualified guest, or they're attending an open house. However, there are times when an exception to the rule can be made, and you may welcome non-members into your lodge for fundraising events. We call those open to the public special events. Let's take a minute to explore what an open to the public special event entails. To begin with, there are events where the general public is invited and the proceeds benefit either your lodge directly or they're donated to charity. Sounds great, right? It is, but you must be aware there are rules that have to be followed to ensure you remain compliant with the federal government's regulations as applicable to organizations such as our fraternity. So what are those rules, you ask? To begin with, you must make sure that the type of event you want to hold is in compliance with all local ordinances. Check with your town or city hall or your county commissioner. Be sure it's an acceptable event and follow all of the protocol necessary to hold such an event. Inquire whether or not you need special permits, is a security presence needed, or must you alert the fire department of the activity. Take a few minutes to contact your local alcoholic beverage commission to see if it is legal and permissible to serve beer or alcohol at your event. Be aware of any additional permits that might be required to do so. Additionally, if your open to the public special event features music like karaoke or a band or a DJ, you need to contact BMI or ASCAP to inquire about music royalties. Next, bring the idea to your Board of Officers meeting for approval, after which the idea then must be approved at the general membership meeting. Once all of those items are checked off of your list, the next very important step is to submit a request to the General Governor's Office for dispensation. Just download the appropriate form from Moose International's website. There is one dispensation for events that include alcohol and one for those without. Be sure to submit the form at least 30 days prior to the event. So wait, you're thinking to yourself, I really thought there was more to it than just that. Well, you're right, there are more rules to abide by. Beginning with, when the event benefits your lodge financially, most state laws prohibit your employees from volunteering in his or her primary job. So, for example, your bartender may not volunteer as a bartender. However, she may serve food for the event. Additionally, when the event benefits your lodge and not a charity, you may only have two like-kind events in one 12-month period. So, for example, you may only hold two food-related events in one calendar year. Let's say your lodge held a steak dinner on September 15th of 2019. That means you may have one more food-related event before September 14th of 2020. Keep in mind, you may have many different kinds of events that benefit your lodge, as long as you don't have more than two of the same type within 12 months. It's also critical to note that if the proceeds taken in by your lodge are greater than 35% of your annual income, you're subject to different tax liability laws. Please speak with your territory manager if you fall into that category. When the proceeds are going to charity, and it can be any charitable organization of your choice or even Moose Charities, the IRS has regulations requiring that only volunteers be involved in the fundraising event. That means no house committee or board of director employees or lodge employees may serve. Volunteers may not receive compensation of any form, including but not limited to tips, free meals, or free drinks. When it comes to the type of event benefiting a charity, however, there are no limitations. You could hold the same event over and over and over again each week. But I'm really not suggesting you do that. It would be terribly boring. There are so many different fundraising possibilities. Here are just a few event ideas to get your creative juices flowing. You could start the fall off with an Oktoberfest. Let your members and their guests try their luck at a casino night or maybe even goldfish races. Have them in for a delicious steak dinner. Entertain them with a concert. Or maybe let the kids have their time and fun at a kids' carnival. Let your members and guests show off their knowledge at a trivia night and their skills at a sip and paint. Maybe they just want to stroll through time at a car show or simply be entertained at a magic show. Keep in mind, a steak dinner and a pancake breakfast are both considered food events. And remember, when the event benefits your lodge financially, you may have only 2 food events in a 12-month period. However, if you host an event where dinner is served, such as a magic show, that's not considered a food event. It's really just a magic show. So your event is over. Now what do you need to do? Well, it's time to make deposits, pay vendors, write checks to charities, and determine if the event was a success. Once these are done, all of this needs to be reported to your board of officers. Moose Training has developed an Excel workbook that will make your job so much easier. Just log on to Moose International's website at www.mooseintl.org and navigate to the Training, Demos, and Tools page from the Members menu. Once you're there, click on the Special Events Workbook to download and save a copy. You're ready to get started. Now I'm going to take a few minutes to demonstrate exactly how to use Moose Training's Excel workbook for open to the public special events. Once you've downloaded the file from Moose International's website, you'll notice that it opens to the very first worksheet within the workbook, which is titled Page 1 Complete First. You're going to begin with your expense entries on this worksheet because the majority of them will automatically transfer over to the second worksheet within the workbook. You may have noticed that at the top of my screen, some of my fields have been pre-filled, and that is because I created a template and saved it. Anytime I have a workbook or a worksheet that I use frequently, I like to fill in those fields that remain constant each time, such as lodge name, the chairman, and the co-chair, and then I save it as a template. That just basically saves me some time for future use where I don't have to make those entries because they're already done for me. You may decide to make a template for yourself as well. I'd like to bring your attention to this purple box at the top. This box is going to let you know that you only fill out those fields that are applicable to your lodge or to your event. It also mentions that anytime you see a field with a tan background, you actually cannot make an entry there. And that is because those fields are auto-calculated for you based upon a quantity and a price that you enter. The purple box also mentions dark gray cells, which I realize you're not seeing any of right now, and that is because those cells are determined based upon what you enter in this box for this question. Does this event benefit a charity? Enter Y or N in the box below. So I'm going to put a Y in, indicating that this event benefits a charity. When I tab off of that field, you'll see that all of the fields related to labor expenses are now grayed out, and I cannot make an entry in there. In fact, if I try, I'm going to get an error message. So you may remember from earlier in the video that I mentioned to you anytime an event benefits a charity, we are not able to compensate our volunteers. So that means we have no labor costs associated with this event. If this field were left blank, or if it had an N in it, then those gray fields disappear, and those fields are free and clear for me to enter labor costs. Back up to this main area, even though some fields have been pre-filled, there are still a few that need to be completed, one of which is the date that the event was held. So for our event, it was held on November 10th. I'm going to click on that date, and then I need to make sure that I give the event a name. In this case, we had a swing dance, and I'm just going to keep it simple, and that's what the event is going to be called. Now I'm ready to start entering some of my expenses. So my expenses will begin with kitchen expenses. I need to enter my costs associated with food. Now this field is not auto-calculated for me, so I need to do a little bit of homework prior to my entries. I need to gather all of my receipts associated with food purchased for this event, total them up, and enter that total here. For this event, we spent approximately $350 in food. I need to do the same for paper products. Gather those receipts, total them, and enter that total here, which was $75. Now moving on to some of those auto-calculated expenses. The first one that I'm going to calculate an expense for is any keg beer we purchased. We actually purchased 3 kegs of beer at $120 per keg, which brings us to a total of $360 for keg beer purchases. Now I'm going to take a minute and finish the rest of those expense entries related to kitchen and liquor. Okay, I've finished up those kitchen-related expenses. Now I need to consider how much I drew upon the lodge's utilities. So I need to think about how many hours I spent in preparation for the event, the hours that the event lasted, as well as any hours spent cleaning up from the event. So when I calculated that, I came up with a total of 10 hours for which I drew upon the lodge's utilities. So I'll enter 10 here. Now I need to determine a cost per hour for those utilities, and you'll see there's a little cheat sheet here to help you. Basically, what you need to do to calculate that rate is take the annual cost for the following: gas, electric, water, sewer, internet and cable, phone, and trash removal. Total those up and divide that total by 8,760 hours, and that will give you an hourly rate. We're keeping things simple today, so I'm just going to say that was $15 for this event. I also need to include one more expense in this area, and that is for any entertainment we provided for the evening. We did have a DJ, and his cost for the event was $125. Now I can move on to my labor expenses. So for these categories, I have the ability to enter up to 4 different bartenders, 3 different kitchen helpers, as well as 4 different servers. My bartender worked for 4 hours at a rate of $12 per hour, so you can see that that particular bartender cost $48 in labor. I'm going to take a minute and complete these labor expenses. Okay, so I finished those labor expense entries. There's just one more entry that I need to consider, and that is whether or not I paid for a security guard. For this event, we did have 1 guard on duty, so I'll indicate the number of guards here, 1, and then the cost associated with that guard for the event. He charged us $75 for the event, and so I will enter that cost in there. Okay, time to go over to the second worksheet within the workbook to start entering our income. The first thing I like to look at is to ensure that all of the things transferred as I expected them to, and I can see that the majority of our general information did, as well as our expenses. There are a few fields that don't transfer, beginning with the event date, so I need to again select our event date, which was in November 10th, and then I need to indicate the event type. This is not the name like on the other sheet, but a type. And there is a drop-down menu here that you can choose an event type from, and I'm going to choose Dance Other. Okay, now I'm ready to start entering my income. The first category of income is related to tickets. So we have an option of when tickets were sold only as tickets, or we have some special pricing ticket, which could be things such as a couple ticket that was offered, or maybe a ticket including a dinner. In this event, we sold only tickets on their own, and we sold 100 of them at a price of $10 per ticket. So my auto calculation shows me that we took in $1,000 worth of income for those ticket purchases. Now I need to enter my kitchen sales. To do this is again an area where I need to do just a little bit of homework before I can make my entries. And so I need to take either my register tapes or the number from my POS system and put those kitchen sale amounts in here. For this event, we had $700 worth of kitchen sales. And I need to do the same thing for my cash bar sales. Register tapes or the number from your POS system, and in this case it was $1,050 worth of income for cash bar sales. If you happen to live in an area where gaming is legal and permissible, this is where you would enter any income related to gaming. So we did have one gaming machine, and you need to enter the name or the type of gaming. So where it says Game 1, I'm going to enter machine. And then I'll enter the amount of income we received from that machine, which was $250. We didn't have any other types of gaming, but you can see that I still have the ability to add up to 3 more types of gaming. Below there's an area for other income that you may enter as well, and you're going to want to name it, just like we did with the machine for gaming. This might be where you enter things such as a 50-50 raffle, We did not have any other income, so I'm going to leave all of these blanks. Also below is where you would enter any donations that you may have received during the evening. We didn't receive any donations, so that will remain blank as well. As I mentioned before, the majority of our expenses transferred over from the first worksheet within the workbook. You'll notice 3 fields in purple, and these are especially important to take note of. These are additional expenses that are not on that first worksheet. You may have chosen to pay for some advertisement for this event. If you did, this is where you would enter the cost associated with that advertisement. I do caution that whenever you have an event that you are advertising, our general laws have some very specific things to say about that advertising, including that you must mention that it is a community service event, or that the net proceeds are going to, and then you name the specific charity for which the proceeds will go to. You can read more about this in the general laws in section 45.2. There are also times when additional liquor licenses are needed, and so you would need to purchase those and put the cost of those licenses here. In this event, we didn't advertise and we did not need an additional liquor license, so those will remain blank. However, we do need to be sure to account for our tax liabilities. So again, you'll get that figure either from your register tapes or your POS system, or if you need to calculate it on your own, there is a sales tax calculator found on our website, and you can get that number from there. For our event, our sales taxes amounted to $215. Great. Now I have all of my expenses and incomes in one place, and I can see our total income was $3,000. Our total expense, $2,086.50, which left us with a net profit of $913.50. Below there's a section for endowment collected, and a reminder that endowment is never to be included in your net profit. So we did receive $35 in endowment, and you'll notice when I made this entry, a little reminder popped up letting me know that I need to remit any money received as endowment to the administrator or the Moose Legion secretary or a treasurer, and attach that receipt to the report. Just a few more entries that we need to finish up, starting with the date that your dispensation was approved. Earlier in the video, I mentioned that dispensations are required for these events, and so this is where you're going to indicate the date that you received that approval. So for this event, we received the approval on October 2nd of 2019. Now, below that, I will indicate who will be receiving these net proceeds. Is it going to be the Lodge General Fund? Will it be Moose Charities? Or will it be some type of local charity? If it is a local charity, you'll notice there's a space to the right where you indicate which charity will be the recipient. For this event, it is just our lodge that's receiving the proceeds, and so I will put an X to indicate that. Oops. Now I need to make sure that I enter the date that I took these funds to the bank and deposited them, and so I made that deposit on November 12th of 2019, so I've entered my date there. Had I been giving these proceeds to a charity, I would need to indicate the date that I wrote a check, as well as the amount that the check was written for. That's really it. You're done with your entries. The only other thing that I'd like to mention, and it is highlighted in yellow to make sure it grabs your attention, is that this report must be read at the House Committee meeting and at the membership meeting. Also, please be certain to include this information in your meeting minutes. That's it. Good luck with your Open to the Public special events. I hope you've enjoyed this video tutorial on Open to the Public special events. Don't forget to visit our website and download and save a copy of the Open to the Public Special Events Excel workbook to make your job of recording and reporting financials that much easier. Thanks for watching.